There was a time during my teenage years in which I used to be an unlikable elitist about video games and difficulty. I will be like, you play Zelda? That's baby's first adventure game. The Witcher 3 on Death March is where it's at. You play Fire Emblem in casual mode? You filthy weeaboo who can't take any risks? Which is ironic because my first playthrough of Awakening was in casual mode. But even though I stopped being like that, I still enjoy it when a game challenges me and pushes my skills to the limit. It's a thing that gets my blood rushing and I love that so much. But there are also times in which some games might get a bit too carried away. They were so crazy difficult that even after years since I played them, I have not forgotten how brutal they can get. And the most ironic thing is, I still like them a lot. So, as the title of the video implies, I'm gonna tell you about the hardest video games I've ever played. The only rules are, no ROM hacks, no fan games, and especially no Souls-like games. On one hand, because everyone will expect them to show up on this list, so I wanna make this video a bit more interesting. And on the other, because I've only played Bloodborne, and yeah, it's a masterpiece, sure, but I've never had the opportunity to play the other From Software games. So are we good? Good! Let's get started! Last video ended with Fire Emblem, so this one is gonna open with Fire Emblem, and the one who earns a spot here is the least known game in the franchise. Fire Emblem Thracia 776. There's not that many people who can say they have played and finished Thracia, and there are good reasons for this. This title is still Japan exclusive, so the only way in which you can play it is through emulation. But even then, you need to download a translation patch that is a bit troublesome to apply. And even if you do all of this, it won't take you too long to realize that Thracia is insanely punishing. There are many reasons as to why. It isn't just the enemies always being stronger than you, armed to the teeth with strong weapons, ballista, long-range magic, and status saves. Yeah, that is tough, but there's also the mechanics that surround this game. There's a capture mechanic, which you must learn to use often to steal weapons and make money, which this game barely gives you enough of. But at the same time, enemies can also capture your units, take them away, and steal your items in the process. During escape chapters, you always gotta make sure that Leaf, the main character, is the last unit to escape, because otherwise you lose all the units you left behind. There's also tons of chapters filled with fog of war, which severely limits your vision. There's maps with invisible warp tiles that can transport you into rooms filled with enemies. All of your saves have a chance to miss, and yes, that also includes failing to heal an ally. Enemy reinforcements can show up and attack you on the same turn. And say that you have very strong units that can carry you through a few chapters. Well, Thracia is the only game in the series to have a fatigue system. If one of your units gets tired enough, they won't be able to participate in the next chapter. This is done to prevent you from relying on the same units over and over. And that's not even mentioning the amount of hidden mechanics that the game doesn't explain properly, like leadership stars, movement stars, or the follow-up critical multiplier. Oh yeah, and did I mention that there's always a risk of getting softlock in this game? It's one of those experiences that looks at you and says,
"Enough cock rating! Time for the endurance test!"
Thracia is the pure embodiment of risk and reward. Every single choice matters, and there is never a single turn in which you ever feel safe. And yeah, sure, with an emulator you can have save states and fast forward features, and they help a lot. But that doesn't change the fact that at its core, Thracia is beyond stressful and brutally punishing. Think about it. I played this game while having a guide next to me at all times, and it still took me a lot of effort to finish it. And someone might say, oh yeah, but Lunatic Plus from Awakening and Maddening from Three Houses are also infamous due to how hard they are. And to that I say, yeah, I know, but like, those are the highest difficulties in their games. You still have the option to play them in normal, hard, and even put casual mode if you want. With Thracia, no. That luxury does not exist. This is the only way you're ever playing this game. And you know what the biggest irony is? Despite everything it made me go through, I still really like Thracia. I mean, it's not my favorite or anything, but I still found some fun here and I don't think my time was wasted at all. Which is more than I can say for other games in the franchise. As someone born in the late 90s, I was fortunate enough to grow up in the era in which getting your own retro games was still affordable, even for a middle schooler.
I was so happy and I didn't even know about it.
As such, one of my best friends and I will constantly go out to stores and Mexican tianguis and get a bunch of old NES games. And as you can imagine, that let us play a plethora of punishing games. I'm sure you have heard many of these before. Zelda 2, The Adventure of Link, Contra, Battletoads, Ninja Gaiden, and of course, I just can't exclude Castlevania 1 and 3. The thing about these games is that since we played them on the original hardware, we barely finished most of them, but we still had a really good time with them. But one that I remember very well and I am still proud of was classic Mega Man, but more specifically, Mega Man 1.
I was never book smart, I'm money smart, makes me more intelligent.
Make no mistake, all of classic Mega Man is hard, but the first game in particular stood out to me mainly because this was my first experience with this franchise. Shortly after Mega Man was announced in Smash Bros, I decided, alright, my friend has the anniversary collection for the GameCube, time to play all the games in there. And naturally I played all of them in order, and I just wanna say, I'm honestly surprised I didn't drop the entire franchise altogether. I mean, Mega Man 1 isn't the worst game I've ever played, again, that's Dead Rising 4. But you can tell they were testing the waters with this one, with clunky controls, awkward level design, punishing enemy placement, and brutal boss battles on top of me having zero previous Mega Man experience. This game pulled no punches at all. But unlike say, Battletoads or Ninja Gaiden, I actually beat this game, and not just that. Unlike Contra, I used no cheat codes at all, and even more proud, unlike Zelda 2 or NES Castlevania, I beat Mega Man 1 without save states or rewind features. I went from beginning to end the way Capcom intended. Except for the nice quality of life features from the collection, but still, the overall experience remains largely the same. For me, my biggest achievement in this game came from defeating the Yellow Devil without pulling any tricks. I actually didn't know about the popular pause glitch until after I beat the boss. So this encounter for me was nothing more than an extremely difficult boss battle. I tried hard, no matter how many times he will kill me. No matter how many times I had to retry Wily's castle. I kept pushing, learning his pattern and using what little opportunity I had to hit him with Eggman's weapon, until I finally defeated one of the hardest bosses I battled in my teenage years. Also, I have a funny story about this event. So I defeat the Yellow Devil, right? And then right after that I had an extremely important family event I had to go to. So if I turn off the GameCube, I had to do Wily's castle and fight the Yellow Devil again. So I have a great idea. I put my controller on top of the console and leave it on until I return. Then, after 3 hours, I come back home, ready to finally beat Mega Man 1, and as soon as I grab the controller, my finger accidentally presses the reset button. I felt like such a massive idiot! And yes, as you can imagine, I had to redo the level and the Yellow Devil again. It was easier, sure, but damn, what a dumbass can I be at times. Still, in the end I managed to complete Mega Man 1 and I was able to finally move to much better Mega Man games. And sure, you can argue that Zelda 2, Castlevania or Ninja Gaiden are miles more difficult than Mega Man 1. But I wanted to give a spotlight to this game because again, I beat it from beginning to end without any extra help like cheat codes, exploits or save states. It made me feel very proud of myself. When I was a kid, I will enjoy watching videos about the hardest video games ever made. And one of the most common picks on said videos was Devil May Cry 3. It was like the game that had to be mentioned. So once I played it a few years later, I can honestly say, yeah, no, okay, those videos were not exaggerating. I got into this franchise through the HD collection on the PlayStation 3, and naturally I played the games in order. Devil May Cry 1 was tough, sure, definitely a challenging game, but at no point did it ever feel overwhelming. Devil May Cry 2 was a disaster, it was too empty and way too easy. It's one of the most boring games I played in my life. But Devil May Cry 3? Damn! This game was incredible! Great level design, amazing music, an engrossing story, and one of the best combat systems I've tried so far. No, in fact, it is so good, it still holds up extremely well to this day. But goddamn, if you want to enjoy all of that, you better pull off your A game. No, scratch that, your stylish game. You know you're in for a treat when you start to die as soon as the second level. I'm sure you have seen this image before. Easy mode is now selectable. Well, that meme comes from this game, and no wonder it's well known. Every single Devil May Cry fan sees this screen early in the first few chapters. And that is because Devil May Cry 3 shows no mercy to newcomers. From all the bosses being all extremely challenging from the get-go, and only getting harder as the game goes on, except for the Gigapit. From the wide enemy variety this game has to offer, with each giving you a hard time for different reasons. It just comes to a point in which mini-bosses start to become regular enemies. Each level having platforming challenges as well as puzzles, and if you wanna go the extra mile, you can do secret challenges that will test your skills in different ways. Oh yeah, and that amazing combat system I talk about? It still takes some time to get used to. Each weapon has a very distinct moveset, so it takes a little bit to understand and master all of them. And that's not even taking into account the different styles that Dante can use. When I first played DMC3, I was constantly struggling. I will replay entire levels over and over until I will get good. I will barely scrape by in boss battles and I was always starving for healing items. But despite all the hardships this game put me through, I loved it. I loved it so much. It ended up becoming one of my favorite character action games of all time, only falling behind the wonderful 101. And nowadays it was also beaten by Devil May Cry 5, but yeah, that's kind of to be expected. But my story with the game did not end there. I wanted more, I wanted to get even better. I beat it in normal, hard, very hard, and Dante Must Die mode, and let me tell you, the latter was so brutal it actually made me not enjoy the game. No, I'm serious. I remember spending over an hour on the damn chess battle because the difficulty made it near unwinnable. I remember my face was red and I really wanted to throw my controller at the screen. That is so rare for me to do. Dante Must Die mode, in a way, made me realize that, yeah, I really like challenging games, but if a game is extremely hard, just for the sake of being extremely hard, then it just stops being fun to me. But hey, in the end I still beat it, and I can still show off that I got every single trophy in Devil May Cry 3. I really love that game, but damn, I'm not playing that difficulty ever again. For JRPGs, it was, ironically, very easy to find a difficult one. I didn't need to look any further than Shin Megami Tensei. And I mean, what can I say? These games earned a reputation not just due to how amazing they are, but due to how punishing they can be, with games like Nocturne, 4, Nocturne again, 5 was alright, but if I had to choose only one, I can tell you without a shadow of doubt the hardest JRPG I ever played is the original release of Shin Megami Tensei Strange Journey. I adore this game so much. It had an amazing story, memorable characters, it made me appreciate dungeon crawlers on a different level, it has one of the most unique soundtracks I've ever listened to, and has a fantastic combat system. But see, do you know what I love the most about this game? That at no point did it ever let go of my attention. And that isn't just because the story is amazing, but because the difficulty and the challenge were just that crazy. Let me tell you something. Just like Thracia, Strange Journey was a game I played with a guide on hand at all times, simply because of how tedious some areas could be. But even with that help, I still struggle a lot with this game. Strange Journey is an experience in which you can never afford to lower your guard. Every step you take is full of dangers. You must be willing to constantly take risks, but also plan accordingly for any outcome because one mistake is all it takes for you to die. The coolest part about the game were, as expected, the boss battles. They were so incredibly well designed, so epic and so climactic. Each and every single one of them was so memorable because of the challenge they delivered. What made them so special is that you can't brute force your way through the battle. You must actually build a strategy around them, swap your weapons and equipment to something that gives you an advantage. You need to take into consideration buffs and debuffs, demons with certain strengths and weaknesses, and make sure all of them are of your same alignment so you can dish out damage. It's a lot, yeah. but I can't describe how good it feels when you finally defeat a boss that gave you so much trouble. Mitras, Horkos, Asura, Tiamat, Ashira, Maya, this game has so many incredible battles! But you know which was my favorite one? Uroboros. If you have played this game, then this monster might have triggered some unpleasant memories in you. This is easily the hardest standard boss I've ever fought in a JRPG. It's a battle in which you must cover every potential terrain, have great defenses, useful support skills, fire attacks to expose weaknesses, and a perfectly synergized team that can dish out damage, because otherwise, you'll be in for a battle that will never end. But damn dude, when you manage to defeat this boss, it's one of those experiences you never forget. Kinda like the Minotaur from SNT4. Literally the only bad thing about this game was the final boss in the neutral route. Mem Aleph is without a doubt the most unfair final boss I've seen in my life. I'll just put it like this. I had a very strong team by the end of the game. She will kill me in one turn. I went to other sectors to get better equipment. She will kill me now in 2 turns. I grinded for literal hours, I changed my entire team, got more broken skills, and it still wasn't enough. I wasted so much time trying to defeat Mem Aleph until I gave up and said,
"That's right, we're gonna cheat."
Yep, Strange Journey has a password system that lets you build a demon however you want, as long as you have the money to pay for them. So I got myself a team that reflected every possible element. And I did it! I beat the game! I know it was a bad way to finish this masterpiece, but Mem Aleph is so crazy unfair! When even people online tell you that the best way to defeat her is to cheat, then yeah, that speaks lengths on how awful this battle is. But still, even if the final battle disappointed me, I still can't put into words how much I adore Shin Megami Tensei Strange Journey. I can't recommend it enough. If you really love games that repeatedly kick you in the balls, I suggest you emulate the original DS release, go to GameFAQs to have a great guide, and enjoy a game like no other. Before I go with the final entry, there's 3 particular games I want to talk about. First, we have Super Monkey Ball 2, a simple concept that is extremely challenging to master. No matter how many times I try to play this game, every single time I touch it I get extremely tense and anxious. But is it fun? Oh sure, it is! But damn, it's so crazy hard. The only reason I didn't put it with the big 5 is because I've never actually finished, or got far on it for that matter. Then we have both Celeste and Pizza Tower. Not only are these two some of the best 2D platformers of all time, but their challenge is what makes them so special. Celeste has an incredibly brutal post-game, while Pizza Tower has an amazing challenge on P-ranking the whole game. They were both experiences that had me sweating but also filled me with so much adrenaline. They were games that stay with me due to how good they are. But if you wanna talk about adrenaline, then check this last entry. F-Zero X and F-Zero GX. Look, I'm not a big fan of racing games that aren't Mario Kart, Diddy Kong Racing or El Chavo Kart. No, really, El Chavo Kart is actually pretty fun and unique. But F-Zero isn't just an exception to that rule. It is, without a doubt, the best racing game I played in my life. I could go on and on about what makes this franchise so incredible. The diverse cast of characters, the unique style, how different it is from other Nintendo properties. But right now, I wanna focus on one thing, the challenge and how said challenge makes me feel. F-Zero puts the player through tons of sharp turns, hills, loops, pipes and many more obstacles, all while driving at thousands of kilometers per hour and competing against other 29 racers. And that's what sets F-Zero apart. It is incredibly fast-paced compared to any other racing game. It might seem like a simple game to understand, but the more you play it, the more you realize the depth behind its mechanics and how insanely challenging it can be. To win a race, you must have great reflexes, being able to keep your vehicle stable at all times, be prepared for the unpredictable and memorize the layout of the tracks. Both F-Zero X and GX are some of those games where no matter how better I keep getting at them, I still feel that insane rush of adrenaline run through my body whenever I play them. Even if I find myself on first place, I can never rest easy because there's always something right behind you. Or even then, One mistake is all it takes for you to lose your lead, or in some cases, explode and be forced to retire. And here's another cool thing. Unlike, say, Mario Kart, there are 0 random factors that can affect the race, so don't expect to see a banana peel on the racetrack, getting hit by a blue shell if you're in first place, or using a bullet bill if you're lagging behind. F-Zero is 100% pure skill. It won't have any mercy on you, but damn! When you win a race in first place at the last possible moment, that is something that can get any person to scream in excitement. Oh, and you wanna know what makes the games even better? The soundtrack. They're so damn incredible, I'm not kidding you! F-Zero X in particular has one of the hypest soundtracks I've listened to in my life. It's right up there with Metal Gear Rising, and you know that is a high bar. I know these things, unfortunately, make F-Zero a very difficult franchise to get into. I've known people who have given them a shot and dropped them because the games are just too intense for them. And that is okay, I understand. F-Zero asks for a lot of your time to understand the ins and outs of its mechanics and memorize a ton of different and unique tracks. But at least for me, there is no other gaming franchise that can give me the same constant rush of adrenaline that F-Zero does. Maybe except for Pizza Tower, but that is only when I am P-ranking the levels. Honestly, if you ever see people during Nintendo Directs begging for a new F-Zero, please understand not all of them are the unfunny crowd who loves to spam show me a moves in Smash Bros. There's people who really, genuinely care for this franchise, myself included. The games are just that amazing. Actually, you know what? Maybe in the future I'll do a video where I expand upon my feelings about these two games. I would really like it if more people can get into it.
Now I want you guys to tell me, what's the hardest video game you've ever played that is in a Soulsborne? Did you like it? Did you hate it? Did you feel accomplished after finishing it? Please let me know in the comments, and will you do that? Thank you so much for your time, I really hope you enjoyed the video, and if you could support the channel, you know, by liking, sharing, commenting, subscribing, or Patreon, that will help me so much. Have a wonderful day, and take care! I'll see you next time!